I already kind of ranted quite a bit during my live streams when it comes to the Game Awards 2021 hosted by Jeff Keighley. And I don't want to take too much time doing that because that was like a whole big thing on the live stream. But I do want to talk just briefly about the Game Awards and how this is just one big hype fest that usually ends up not living up to anywhere near the amount of hype that Jeff Keighley puts out for this. Because usually what Jeff Keighley will do and what these award shows is, it's just really kind of just one big advertisement. I think we all know this at this point. It's one huge, big money making advertisement with celebrities and all that type of stuff. And I think that when it comes to the game reveals, when it comes to the actual games, those are somewhat secondary to Jeff Keighley making that large amount of money, which is okay because I think that at the end of the day, he can make a business and he can do that. And I think that something's better than nothing when it comes down to it. So I do want to say that I commend Jeff Keighley for doing something like this. I think that it's a good thing overall when it comes down to it. He's free to do what he needs to do as well. And it does put spotlight on games and developers and other things. And so I get that. But at the same time, this guy, when it comes to the Game Awards and when it comes to the pacing of this show, 3.5 hours, 3 hours plus, whatever the case is, and how he hypes it to no end. There's going to be 4 to 5 Elden Ring size level announcements, but the caveat is, well, there's not quite, gameplay. And on top of that, even outside of the 4 to 5 Elden Ring type of announcements, there's a lot of just CG. This seemed to be even more CG-ified than anything. And the games that we did get, I would say, gameplay from, they didn't really do anything when it comes to mechanics or anything interesting outside of, hey, look at me, I have pretty graphics. I saw more games that were third-person shooters. Hey, boys, we're dropping in. Let's go. Where somebody's just running around in third person with a gun than like ever before. I don't even know the names of these games. I got them all mixed up. They were all mixed up from the beginning just because everything just seemed like a blur of the same stuff over and over again. Now, this is not to crap on the developers who make the games or anything like that, because these games could ultimately end up being very good. I don't know at the end of the day, right? I don't know, and I'm not crapping on their work. What I'm talking about is the pacing of the show. What I'm talking about is how it's presented. What I'm talking about is the actual gameplay. Like, there was one good gameplay segment for the most part with the Suicide Squad game, which that was awesome. Like, very cool. I'm so happy they're able to get that out. Rocksteady makes a great game, but it's also a games as a service. So there's always like a little caveat or like a little asterisk by everything. And on top of that, Nintendo was a complete no-show. Obviously, Nintendo's fault. I'm pretty sure Jeff Keighley wanted to get something from them, but Nintendo was a no-show on there. So ultimately, yeah, that's not going to be as good of a show when you don't have a big game from the leading console right now on the market, which is the Nintendo Switch. So that's also very rough as well for fans out there, because some people were like, well, wait a minute, maybe we see Breath of the Wild, maybe we see Xenoblade, maybe we see Bayonetta, maybe we see something. Heck, my own predictions, I thought that we would see something. Heck, we've gotten stuff even as small as Bravely Default 2 and Marvel Ultimate Alliance exclusive to Nintendo Switch being announced at the Game Awards. Plus, we've had also Super Smash Bros. Characters and all sorts of stuff. So there's been big announcements before. We've had Zelda stuff. So people expected something, and there was just a big goose egg, a big nothing. And once again, that's more on Nintendo, more so than Jeff Keighley, because I'm pretty sure Jeff Keighley would have loved to slot in something from Nintendo, but it does go to the overall show when you start hyping things up like crazy. When you start going on Twitter and responding to people and saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be like the craziest thing, because you're just going to do a bait and switch. And that's what Keighley does every single year, because there's no one else to actually challenge him from a size level, from a hype level, from a, I would say, perception level, because he has the looks to do what he does. He has the contacts to do what he does. And nobody else can really even get on that level just because there's no way, because Keighley's been doing it for so long. So we're stuck with this for the most part when it comes to the biggest show. Now, there's still other shows that matter. There's still Dice, there's still Golden Joystick, there's still individual websites, and those are great too, and that's awesome, and I can't wait to see what else wins in all of that. But at the end of the day, Jeff Keighley holds a lot of power in terms of getting these reveals and getting certain things, and it ended up just being a big hype fest and a big commercial. Again, it was even worse than it's been in recent years. I think that for the most part, I've enjoyed at least, like, let's say a 6 out of 10. Pretty much every single Game Awards since, like, I would say 2017 or so. I've pretty much given every single one at least a 6, right? This one seemed to me like it was like a 4. you know, that it was below a 5. 5 might be generous. Maybe it's about a 5 out of 10, but this one just seems so much worse than what we've gotten before in the past. And I think that Jeff Keighley, to his own detriment, especially with the rise of social media even more now, and he has more followers. He has a million plus when it comes down to it. And he's, like I said, responding to individual people that I know. He's following certain people and everything and saying, this one's going to be crazy and all that. This one's going to be so big. There's Elden Ring size announcements. Everything's just CG. And if it's not CG, there isn't enough when it comes to certain gameplay aspects and stuff. So it's just rough, man. And I think that it's tough on Jeff Keighley's part, so I don't want to put all the blame on him, but a lot of it does go on there for how bad and how badly paced the show is. Like I said, just one big ad for multiple different things, and it ended up just being very unenjoyable to watch. Like, I did not have fun watching it. I felt like a lot of the jokes fell flat and stuff like that, which, you know, it is what it is. People are going out there and probably doing a bit of improv when it comes down to it. But there was like a lot of movie trailers, and I get that. You know, some people do like to have the movie stuff in there, but there was 3 separate ones. The Sonic movie looks great, and that's cool. They had the new Sonic Frontier game and everything, which was also cool, but there was no actual gameplay in terms of it. But they did have the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild moment, right? Which it's legitimately looks like Sonic in Breath of the Wild with some other stuff. They have some like Colossus that they're fighting and everything, but that was interesting to say the least. But at the same time, man, it was just, like I said, rough. You have like another movie from the, you know, Kojima introducing from the Del Toro guy. It has nothing to do with video games. The Matrix stuff was just more with the Matrix stuff, which is just, you know, you know what I'm saying? How about a new actual Matrix video game? Not an experience, but an actual new Matrix video game. How about that instead? I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that I had a lot of fun watching. And before in the past, it usually is more fun than this. It usually is more fun than this. People alerted me that last year was Sephiroth, so that was nuts that Sephiroth was there. And I think that, once again, we had stuff like Bravely Default as well when it comes to the Nintendo side of things. But this time, man, I can't give a passing grade to this. This is definitely like a 4 out of 10. Jeff Keighley, I understand why he hypes it, because he needs those viewers. I mean, the viewer count for this show is probably going to be like probably 100 million, right? And that's advertiser revenue, that's money, that's stuff for him. So yeah, he's gonna hype it beyond belief, because he has like the gateway between like the fans out there and the publishers. And of course, the publishers with all the money, they want him to hype it up as if it's the greatest thing ever since like sliced bread, because that's where all their advertising revenue is going, and to their games to sell more video games. So it makes sense. So I don't blame him 100% for it, but this year he just seemed to kind of go nuts with it, like even worse than before, because I didn't see 4 Elden Ring sized announcements when it comes to certain games. Like, I didn't see that. Maybe there was, but I didn't see anything new when it came down to it with those. Maybe Alan Wake, probably a couple more that I'm forgetting, but I think that it's also highly subjective in his point, which I never really trusted what he had to say with that anyway. So it's not like I trusted that. Like, I was like, oh yeah, Jeff Keighley's going to deliver, because most of the time he doesn't with these shows. But it's just like, man, you're super overhyping so many different things here, and it's not working to your favor, because a lot of people are saying exactly what I'm saying right now about the show this year. It seemed even worse. But I do think that there is some more excuses, I guess, that you can put out there. You can put out COVID. You could put out quite a number of things being delayed, you know, and the fact that like near the end, there wasn't really any big announcements towards the end, like what they did like with the music and like what they did with the game of the year. And like, they didn't even let the Ferris guy talk too much, you know, and it was just done. And it just ended like Deathloop's ending. Like, at the end of the game, it was just, all right, we out. And that was it. You know, after 3.5 hours of slogging through this show with movie trailers and with tons of just music and just performances that took up a lot of time, which they're talented and they're great and everything, but man, I was not digging the pacing at all. The pacing was just not very good in my opinion, and they need to tweak it, and maybe next year will be better, right? Next year will be better. I think that we've got bigger games next year with God of War, with Horizon, with Legend of Zelda. We've got some stuff that could be announced. But I do feel at the end of the day, like Nintendo's Direct, whatever they do have, is going to be pretty crazy, since they didn't announce anything for this. So I'm guessing that they're going to wait and have a huge, big Nintendo Direct in the spring, because next year you got some heavy hitting games coming out across all the platforms. So I think Nintendo wants to be ready to go as well. But man, it would have been nice if they can even get like a Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope trailer. I mean, that would have even been nice. Just that would have been kind of cool. Like a little bit of new gameplay there. Mr. Keeley, what happened there, man? So either way, it is what it is. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to the Game Awards and Jeff Keeley? Was it overhyped and underdelivered? I think so. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you're someone new. Click that notification bell. We will see you for the next video. Peace.